Okay, that finale. Let's talk about it. Because Secateurs didn't just close out the season, it blew the door wide open for everything that comes next. And if you've been watching The Testaments from the beginning, this episode delivered on promises the show has been quietly making since episode 1. A lot happened, a lot of hearts moved, and one conversation changed the entire direction of this story in a way I genuinely did not see coming. Let's get into it. The episode centers on Daisy and Agnes, who are doing everything in their power to protect Becca from the eyes. And when I say everything, I mean everything. These two are running on pure adrenaline and desperation for most of this finale. The lengths they go to, the risks they take, the sheer audacity of their plan. It's the kind of television that makes you grip your armrest and forget to breathe. This is the part that genuinely moved me because somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, something unexpected happened. Commander Weston, Garth, and Aunt Lydia were all inspired to act by two girls running on conviction and love. In Gilead of all places. That is not a small thing. That is the show quietly reminding you that even the most suffocating system in the world has cracks in it. And those cracks always start with people who refuse to stop caring. But Daisy's boldness comes with consequences. Her actions, reckless, passionate, completely her, put her relationship with Mayday in jeopardy. Put her relationship with Gilead's entire power structure in jeopardy. She is operating well outside the lines of any sanctioned plan. And then June shows up. Check this out. June doesn't come to Gilead to fight this time. She comes with one specific mission. Get Daisy out. Remove her from the equation entirely before Gilead swallows her whole. But Daisy won't go. She argues, passionately, fiercely, that she needs to stay. That the women of Gilead need her. That leaving would be a betrayal of everything she came here to do. And here's the moment that stopped me cold. Listening to Daisy make that argument, I realized she sounds exactly like June. Not a little like June. Exactly like her. The same fire. The same refusal to abandon the people left behind. The same willingness to sacrifice herself for something larger. June heard it too. You could see it on her face. Do you think Daisy realizes how much of June's own journey is being reflected back at her in that moment? Because I'm not sure she fully does yet. Drop your thoughts below. And then the revelation that reframes this entire show lands. Daisy is describing the Gilead girl she's been fighting for. The one she refuses to leave behind. And June goes very, very still. She recognizes one of them. That girl Daisy is describing is Hannah. I had to pause and just sit with that for a second, because this is the thread that has been running underneath everything since The Handmaid's Tale began. June and Hannah. A mother and a daughter separated by a regime designed specifically to make that reunion impossible. And now, through Daisy, through this completely unexpected chain of connections, they are closer than they have ever been. Daisy connects the dots fast. She goes straight to Agnes with the information. The pieces lock into place on both sides. And just like that, what started as a desperate mission to save Becca becomes the most personal operation June has ever run. Here's the thing about June and Hannah's separation that the show has always understood. It was never just about distance. It was about access. Gilead didn't just take Hannah away physically. It built walls around her, moved her, reclassified her, made her harder to reach with every single victory June achieved against the system. If you look closely at the painful irony of June's entire arc in The Handmaid's Tale, some of her greatest wins against Gilead actually pushed Hannah further away. When June helped dismantle Gilead's grip on Boston, the Mackenzie family relocated to Washington, D.C. Hannah went further from the border, further from Canada, further from June. By the time The Handmaid's Tale ended, Hannah was more unreachable than she had ever been. And June was boarding up for a long, grinding campaign of resistance, knowing that winning Hannah back meant dismantling Gilead piece by piece, and that piece by piece might take the rest of her life. In my opinion, that has always been the most devastating element of June's story. Not the violence, not the subjugation. The specific, particular cruelty of watching your victories push your child further out of reach. 4 years passed between the end of The Handmaid's Tale and the start of The Testaments. June is still running Mayday operations out of Canada. Agnes is still in the DC region. When June recruited Daisy as a Mayday operative, reaching Hannah wasn't even the immediate objective. It was background noise to a larger mission. That changes completely in Secateurs, because now June is running an operation that could directly, tangibly affect Hannah. That could finally, after years and years of fighting, result in a reunion. And that shift in stakes changes June fundamentally. She became more invested in Daisy's success the moment she found out about that connection. Not just because of Hannah, but because she let Daisy walk back into danger. She gave Daisy permission to take that risk. And now she has to live with what that means if it goes wrong. This is the part that gets me about June as a character. She takes on the weight of every person she sends into that fight. Every single one. And Daisy just became very, very personal. Now, let's talk about something that I think deserves more attention. Because The Testaments on Hulu is doing something genuinely interesting in how it diverges from Margaret Atwood's original book. Here's what's wild about the source material. June doesn't appear in Atwood's The Testaments at all. Not in any meaningful way. The books never specifically reference her. She is effectively absent from the sequel novel that carries her daughter's story forward. Hulu's version has made a completely different choice. They have woven June into the fabric of the Testaments from the beginning, and as the show moves into season 2, that involvement is clearly only going to deepen. That is a significant creative decision, and based on everything Secateurs just set up, it is absolutely the right one. There's another major difference between the book and the show worth breaking down here. In Atwood's novel, baby Nicole, the daughter of June and Nick who escaped Gilead at the end of The Handmaid's Tale, is a central figure in the Testaments. She has become a symbol, an icon. Gilead has been pursuing her return for 15 years after the time jump. She represents everything the outside world threatens about Gilead's way of life. And the novel's biggest twist is that baby Nicole turns out to be Daisy, an identity Daisy herself never even knew. Check this out. The Hulu series doesn't support that timeline at all. And it can't. Nicole was only 2 years old at the end of The Handmaid's Tale on screen. The show's version of The Testaments doesn't have the 15-year gap that makes the Daisy as Nicole reveal possible. Daisy and Agnes appear to be roughly similar in age, which simply doesn't line up with Nicole being a toddler when June left Gilead. And honestly, I think this is the right call. The Handmaid's Tale television series played out across more years than Atwood's original novel ever did. Compressing that back down to fit the book's timeline would have felt forced and dishonest to the universe the show spent years building. By departing from the novel early, Hulu gave The Testaments room to breathe, room to build its own story within a world audiences already know and love deeply. The deviations aren't weaknesses. They're the show finding its own voice while staying true to the spirit of what Atwood created. And as Season 2 begins, that creative freedom is going to matter more than ever. Because June Osborne, the character Elizabeth Moss has embodied across years of television, is now at the center of a story that her creator never put her in. And the show has handled that responsibility carefully. She hasn't been shoehorned in. She hasn't overshadowed the new characters. She has been woven in slowly, deliberately, until the moment in Secateurs, where her presence becomes absolutely essential to everything moving forward. That is the kind of long-game storytelling that I have enormous respect for. You plant the seed, you let it grow, and then when it blooms, it feels inevitable rather than convenient. So here's where we land going into Season 2. Daisy is back in Gilead. Agnes has the knowledge she needs. June finally knows where Hannah is, and for the first time in this entire saga, a mother and her daughter are within reach of each other. Everything June has fought for, every sacrifice, every impossible choice, every person she has lost along the way, it has all been moving, however slowly and painfully, toward this. This is the part that excites me and terrifies me in equal measure. Because this show does not do easy reunions. It does not do clean resolutions. If and when June and Hannah finally come face to face, there will be a price for it. There always is. So here's my question for you. Do you think Season 2 actually gives us the June and Hannah reunion? Or does this show make us wait even longer? Because I have a feeling the answer is more complicated than any of us want it to be. Drop your theory in the comments. See you next week.